Hi everyone, this is Sheila Butler with Successful Women Talk, the Behind the Design show, and I am excited to have special guests with us today, Diane Prince Johnston. She is the founder and CEO of Winnie and Max. Not only is it a cute name, cute clothes, but a really interesting story. So do me a favor and help me welcome Diane, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her story.
Hi, thanks Sheila. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am terrific. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy mom of 3 young girls and running a company, so I know it's a busy time. So thanks again for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, you are most welcome. Hey, let me ask you, first question I usually ask everyone is tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got started in business.
Okay, well, I got my first start when I was 26 years old, and I've been an entrepreneur since then. That followed a brief stint in studying French literature. I have a graduate degree. That's why I moved out to California to get a graduate degree in French literature. And it became pretty clear then that business was my calling and not education or the pursuit of French literature, which I loved. And I worked at a computer company for a few months while brainstorming about what kind of business I wanted to start. I knew I wanted to start a company. And while I was in graduate school and also throughout the world, I temped. Like I went to England one summer in college, and that's when I got introduced to temping. I had my first job in England was at a pub, and with my temporary student work permit, and I pumped a beer. I think my third day in England, I was 19 years old and had no idea what I was doing. And the person who I served said, how fast do you type? so I started temping there, and started understanding from that end. And so I found temping a great way to get me through college and graduate school. So I started a temp agency in 1996, specializing in a niche in title insurance, which I knew because my father had worked in title insurance his whole career. So that's how I started. That's how I started in business ownership.
I love that. I love the very background that you have. And I didn't know where to go with this in your story as far as you were serving beer at a pub, and then they asked you how you could type. Does that mean you weren't serving beer very well at the pub?
Not really. I didn't do such a great job at that.
You were a much better typer.
Well, however, I will say that on my first temp assignment, I didn't know what a fax machine was. And my first assignment, I overheard the office manager say to another employee, "Remind me never to hire a temp again." That was my first temp assignment. And I think I got through it with my American accent because I was in England. So I think that helped.
That's a terrific story. So I like that. So you took those skill sets of learning how to be a temp, and you decided to start a business with doing that. How difficult was that? You'd never started a business before. Were your parents business owners, or was this something totally new for you?
No, my mother was a school teacher, and my father was he worked in corporate. He was in corporate America. He worked his way up at Chicago Title Insurance Company, and he was there for 35 years. So I did draw a lot from him as far as he's incredibly smart and business savvy. So I drew a lot from him in that sense. And he's not a risk taker. So he was, he started and he worked his way all the way up to COO of Chicago Title. So I got a lot of that business experience learned from him.
Oh, wow, that's great. My dad's the same way. He's a lot of really great skill sets and could have started a business on multiple occasions or gone into partnership, was afraid to because he was a little bit risk averse. So when I decided I was going to start my first company, he was so encouraging for me to do that. Just try, he said. Just try it. And I love that.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you. So we went from the staffing company, and now we have this great product line, Winnie and Max. So tell us how you got there.
Okay, well, I left my last staffing company and I sold my shares to a partner, and I wanted to create a kind of a business where I could work at home and be flexible. I have 3 daughters, as you mentioned. They're 14, 11, and 9. And I live in Malibu, which is pretty remote. I'm in a pretty remote part of Los Angeles. So I needed to come up with something that was going to allow me to be able to pick up my kids from school, to see my kids, and something that was fun and passionate. I had never really, I had placed title insurance and escrow employees, which was a challenging and really interesting career. And this time I wanted to do something that was really from my heart. And one of the things that I did do, though, in my staffing world was help women business owners. I was always involved in that. We were a women-owned business. I was involved in the Women's Business National Council, and I also mentor at the Jewish Vocational Services. There's a women mentoring program. So that's always been, women entrepreneurship has always been an area that's near and dear to my heart. So that's why I started Winnie and Max, because we're a social selling company. So we're not just a clothing line. We're selling in a home trunk show model.
I love that. So you're giving other people, other women, not probably just women, but other people the opportunity to also be entrepreneurial.
Exactly.
I love that. I got that when I read your story, because you talked to, and when you and I first connected, when you said, hey, you're doing a show to empower women, I love that. What can I do to support you? So I knew we were going to have a bond from the moment that we communicated, because of that same thing. I think there are so many women out there that have great talents, and either they don't know that they can go out and do something, because maybe they've never seen a mentor like yourself. So I love highlighting stories like yours.
Thank you. Well, I like to show women how they can do it. And you're right, a lot of individuals, and I say women because most of our salespeople, our consultants are women, and most people just don't know how to start. And I hear the stories every day, and even if they're not style makers, which is what we call our independent consultants at Winnie and Max, even if they don't join us, I love telling them, helping them, well, what I hear all the time, I have this great idea. I've had this idea, but I have no idea how to get started. What's the first way to get started? And I love to kind of tell you it's step by step, and you just have to follow the steps and push down those negative thoughts every day.
Absolutely. And you may stumble in what some people call failure. I call those stepping stones or building character, but that's okay. You get back up and you keep trying.
You need to fail.
I agree. It certainly builds. I've built a lot of character by failing.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. Were you a designer? Because I know you studied French literature, but you didn't mention anything about being a designer. So how did you start a design type business?
Well, there's two parts to this business that are essential, and one is the business model and the compensation plan and everything that creates the environment for our sales consultants. And the other part is having an exceptional product. So as I've always done in my business life, as I seek help from other people when I don't know, or when I want to learn. And that's part of I think the excitement of business ownership is that you start out with a blank slate sometimes and think about at the beginning of this, I thought, well, I had no idea about direct sales, and I didn't know about clothing design, and I just started learning. And what I did originally with Winnie and Max is I was thinking about a product line, and I found the designer of my favorite brand of pajamas online. I looked up, the name is Scanty, and they used to sell at Nordstrom and Neiman Marcus and boutiques, and I loved the way that the pants fit. They were just really flattering, and they were the kind of they were pajama pants that you'd also wear all day around town, and they had these really flattering, amazing shirts. So I started with that, and I thought, well, if I could do a product that I absolutely love and something inspired, they had sold to another pajama company called PJ Salvage. So I looked on LinkedIn and I found a gal who was behind that, and she designed our first line.
I love that.
She really got us started with that, with the first line, and then I got introduced to we're producing here in Los Angeles. We're made in the U.S. So just talking to people and learning, and I've hired a new designer, and she's in-house now, and we're subcontracting out to other designers as well. So we have a design team now. Instead of just working on one person's vision, we have a team, and we're developing, and we're still working on our branding. We're really still in our pre-launch phase, and considering October is going to be our splash launch. So this is really our learning phase right now.
I appreciate that you shared that, because I think it's important for people to know that even if you don't have those skill sets, the particular skill sets that you knew you were a businesswoman, you knew how to run a business, but maybe you weren't a designer, but that didn't stop you from pursuing your dream. You found someone to help you. And I think that's important for women to understand, that there are people out there, if you don't know those skill sets, they do. And most often you can figure out a way to collaborate with those types of things.
It's so true. I mean, even the direct sales model, like I mentioned, I thought, how am I ever going to design a compensation plan? And I don't know the first thing about that. And I started learning, and I called a lot of people, and there's a million direct sales consultants who want to help you. And I had to really work through that as well. And I also got help from girlfriends. I have friends who are salespeople in different direct sales companies. So I spent a lot of time with them, just asking them tons of questions. And then I found, I just started calling, getting references and referrals. And I hired someone to design our compensation plan, who's designed, he's very well known in the direct sales industry, and just started getting involved. There's a direct sales association. There's always education and always ways to learn about what you want to do.
I agree. I love that. Now, let me ask you this. So when you first envisioned Winnie and Max, did you know you were going to do it both ways, have both sides of the business, both a product, a great product, and you were going to sell it the way that you are with the sales team?
I did it. It first came, and I think you mentioned in our pre-interview that I wrote a rough draft of a novel. I did the National Novel Writing Month, which was a blast, which basically I just wrote a rough draft in 30 days. And then I decided it was on Thanksgiving weekend. So at the very end of that, I think I had like 700 words left to go. And I saw Jessica Heron, who's the CEO of Stella & Dot, on CNN, talking about what she had done. And I thought, oh, that is really interesting. And I love the fact that it's social selling. I was in my staffing career, I became a leader in social media in the staffing world, and I spoke to staffing industry executives and companies about social media, about Twitter, and that Twitter was kind of my thing there. And so I love that part of it. And I also love the part about the women empowerment, helping women start their own businesses, and that national reach. A lot of my contacts are national and job seekers. So I really felt like that was a way to combine something with starting something new and starting something feminine and a design, and combine that with the experiences that I did have from the staffing world and business ownership with the business model part of it. So that was the appeal to me. And yes, I did have the social selling model in mind, and then started looking for the product.
Now, you said you guys are going to do your first real launch, like you're still working on branding. Although I will have to say, when you said you're still working on branding, I like that, because that means that you're wanting to perfect things. Because I think your site and your brand already looks really good.
Thank
you. I'm interested to know, did you hire someone to help you with branding, or did you kind of, with your background, do those things yourself?
You know, it was a combination. We did. I've been thinking a lot about how we started and what we started. And when we set out at the beginning, we were more of a pajama line, and that even evolved in the last 3 months, where women were loved our dresses and our tops and things like that. And I decided that we would be more of a casual clothing line. We have an awesome set of pajamas coming out in the fall, so we're going to have some loungewear as well. But it's more super soft stuff that you can wear during the day. That is, day wear that you can also sleep in.
It's like comfortably sophisticated.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love it.
Love it. And so, just in thinking about the branding, a lot of times, and I'm, is when you're starting the business, there's certain things like you kind of hear those voices, and you don't always follow your instinct. And so, as I'm kind of fine-tuning things, there's things that I want to say more about the brand, about the company, about maybe things that I was too afraid to do at the beginning, just make it more my vision. And so that's part of it. And we did hire someone, not specifically, she's a designer in branding, And so it's a team. It's a team collaboration, and it's going on right now. This weekend, we're working on it too, and it's a lot of late nights as well.
That is one thing that I like, that you've also, it's kind of like a lifestyle business. You want a successful business, and what I find when I talk to women is they want a business. They want to be a mom if they're moms, and they want the flexibility of being able to be a mom and be with their kids, but they really are smart and successful and want to do both. And this is such a great example that you can do that.
Totally. This is something, there's women who have been stay-at-home moms for several years, and that's part of the reason why I like this business model. I have one of my friends is selling Winnie and Max, and she was a stay-at-home mom for 13 years. And then so she started her Winnie and Max business, and she made $1,000 her first week so after not having worked for so long. So it's very rewarding, and not just the money, to actually do something and have a career and step out of your comfort zone. It's not comfortable to sell. And for most people, right. 90% of us, it's not comfortable, and it can be scary to stand in front of a room and give a sales presentation. And it's very rewarding to teach people, walk them through the steps to show them how successful they can be. And it's a blast. I've never done anything like this before, and it's really fun.
Do you almost have, I'm guessing, like I am big into systems. I think you have to have a great product, and I think to have a successful business, you have to have a great product, terrific customer service, and systems to get everything flowing the same way. Almost set up like with the EMyth. I read that many years ago, and they suggested you set your business up as if it were a franchise. So do you guys kind of have the same type of process so that everyone does it the same way?
Yes, I love that book, by the way. That had a big impression on me as well. And yes, this is a business about systems. It's a balance, though. When you're starting up a company, it's a balance between making sure that your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, and also getting out there and promoting your company and getting the people to sell the product. So it is a balance, and certain things you're still like working through. So it's kind of, it's been a balance. But yes, I do believe that very much in the EMyth, where you have to you can't, unless you're creating a job for yourself and that's what you want to do, you do have to, if you really want to be serious about your business, set it up so that it can be run without you.
I agree.
In the company.
Yeah, because what a lot of people don't realize, especially if they're like independent business owners and they work in their job every day, excuse me, not that there's anything wrong with that, but if they leave, that money's not coming in anymore. So that's the difference between really being having a job and having a business. So in my opinion, a business is something that as a business owner, you can step out and work on your business instead of in your business every day.
Mm-hmm. That's important. That is very important. I agree.
Let me ask you this. I know that a lot of people, like when I first sold my other company a couple of years ago and I started my current company, Me Giant Inc., I was a little bit afraid at first to tell people that I'm a stay-at-home mom and a business owner, because sometimes that's not looked at as professional, right? So what is your feeling on that, or what suggestion would you give to someone to say, hey, I am just as much a business owner as anyone else, and yes, it's a lifestyle business for me. How do you kind of navigate that?
I think the world has changed. I think, and there's a book by the author's name is Handy, and I'm totally forgetting the title of it, but I'll think of it and I'll let you know. But it is about, he makes predictions about, it was written 20 years ago, and there's predictions about how work life is going to change. And a lot of it is that we're going to telecommute, we're going to be working from home. And I haven't found it a huge barrier. I think people kind of appreciate it somehow. And of course now Winnie and Max is such a feminine business. Women bring their kids to the trunk show sometimes. And that's, that is kind of part of it. Because I guess in the corporate world it is more difficult. And it's just more difficult because of time. And if you want to spend time with your kids, you've got to go home sometimes, and you can't be available until 8 p.m. every night. So one of the great things about Winnie and Max is that we all pretty much understand. Someone yesterday said when she was talking to a new style maker that we're kind of like a support group. We are, because we get it. We understand. We have a lot of single moms. We have a lot of moms who are stay-at-home moms, and just a combination, and we kind of get it and support each other.
And I think that's important. That's why I think I see big things for Winnie and Max, because you are helping empower women, and you're understanding it is a, a lifestyle business. People do want to do both, and you're helping them do that. So I can't, and it's such a community, and everybody's preaching all the time. We have to be on social media. To me, social media truly is communicating and building relationships. It's just a tool to get you there. So it's great that you have a community environment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of our style makers says that she asked her kids, should she go back to work? And one of her daughters, she also has 3 daughters, one of her daughters said, Mom, I want you to get a job, but I only want you to work when I'm in school. And then she said, so then I found Winnie and Max, and it's the perfect way to do that.
That's terrific. Let me ask you, how active are you? I know you said with your other business you were pretty active on Twitter. How big of an impact does social media have with Winnie and Max, or has it had thus far?
Well, like you said, it's a lot of communication. I mean, Facebook has been really big for us. Right now, we've gotten a lot of our style makers interested through Facebook, and that's really helped because you can actually see, when you're on our Facebook, you can actually see pictures of the trunk shows. You can see visuals of previews of the product. We have pictures of the manufacturers who are making our clothes downtown. So Facebook has been a really great way because it's so social.
And they see the who behind Winnie and Max, and that makes such a difference.
Exactly. And Twitter, I think, is important for the salespeople because, as you know, Twitter reaches out. I mean, that's how you and I connected. Twitter is extended beyond your own community, whereas Facebook are your friends and the people who know about you already. Twitter is searchable, and right. Twitter is a way to really get your word out and make connections. I've made so many amazing connections through Twitter. And that's a way to reach out to people and grow your network and grow your business.
I totally agree. Let me ask you this. If you had a suggestion for anybody that was in your shoes maybe a couple of years ago thinking about starting a new business, what advice would you give that lady?
Okay, well, the first thing is you need to make sure that the business idea is sustainable. That is one of the most important things. Once you have an idea, you need to sit down and make a financial plan and to understand if your idea has longevity, if you can make money from your idea. That's the first step. Once you know that, then you write a business plan, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You just need some sort of steps that you know that you have to take to get where you want to go, and ask for advice and follow your instincts. Women have really good instincts, and a lot of times we shove them down when we hear other voices. Follow your instincts and persevere, and know that you're going to fall down, and know that everyone's afraid. When I was writing, one of the things that really made an impression on me was understanding how much it takes for great authors to write. And they do bad first drafts, and they sit down and they write every day. Tolstoy didn't just sit down and spew out War and Peace. He made an effort, and he did it, and he committed every day. So that is, if you know that you have an idea that's going to get you where you need to go financially, because that's very important, then you just have to keep on going and persevere.
Great advice. Hey, Diane, this has been terrific. If someone wanted to connect with you, where would you like for us to send them?
Well, Facebook is great. We're at Facebook/Winnie and Max, AND Max, and our website is winnieandmax.com.
Okay. And we'll link all of those up in the show notes as well.
Wonderful. Okay.
I love your story, love what you're doing, and I can't wait to see Winnie and Max a few years from now. It's going to be, I see big things for you guys.
Thank you, Sheila. It was great talking to you this morning.
Thank you, and have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, that's our show, and thanks again for tuning in. Hey, I have a huge favor. I'd like for you to join us over at www.successfulwomentalk.com. Join our email list, and on that list, you'll be a VIP. You'll be receiving all of our newest updates, newest interviews, our newsletter, and any tips and tricks we have for organizing your business and getting raving fans and customers that actually just sing your praises. So again, thanks again for tuning in. Check us out next week for another episode of SuccessfulWomenTalk.com. Thanks, guys.